Morning, year four. We are. This is my introduction, Mr. Garley's introduction to a rainforest. A little 5-minute video. There's a little bit of work you can do at the end to prove what you've learned from this video. I'm sat here with the one rainforest expert that I know, Georgia Garley.
Hello.
Who's studied about rainforests for her GCSEs. So let's see how much she knows. There are 3 things that we're going to try and learn from this little tutorial. Is what is a rainforest? Where can you find a rainforest? And what are the parts of the rainforest called? Before we go any further, here are some interesting scientific words associated with rainforests that will be useful to learn, and see if you can learn how to spell them as well, because that's really important. So the first word is biodiversity. Great word, isn't it, George?
Mm-hmm.
Bio means life, and diversity means different. So why this is important to the rainforest is because you find a lot of different life forms living in a rainforest. Not just one kind of animal or one kind of bird, lots of different living things. Instead of using the word different things from now on, we can use the word organism, because that's a scientific term that means living things. And that covers everything that lives. So animals, plants, bird life, and even going down to the smallest, tiniest living things on the planet, microorganisms. So things that have single cells. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Ecosystem, which is what the rainforest is a good example of, which is a habitat where lots of living things interact and rely on each other to survive. Yeah. And then deforestation, which is a bad thing, which we'll learn about during the course of the topic, because deforestation is the clearing of a large area of trees, which is, as you know from looking at the news, is a threat to rainforests and that whole ecosystem. And then tropical, we included that because that's a word that will come up a lot, because rainforests grow in tropical regions of the earth. So they're words that you can learn, and learn how to spell, please, because they're important to the topic. Here are 4 more words that are really important, aren't they, George?
Mm-hmm.
Because what are these?
The layers of the rainforest.
Yeah, so these are the different layers of the rainforest. So earlier we were talking about it being like a cake. If you cut the rainforest like a birthday cake, you'd see different layers. So at the very top, where you'd find your icing of your birthday cake, is the emergent layer, the top layer, emergent in blue. Underneath that, you'll find the canopy, which is kind of like the top layer of sponge. Mrs. Meekins would appreciate this metaphor. Underneath that, where you've got your cream, is your understory. And then at the very bottom is the forest floor. You said, George, it was more like a cheesecake, but I don't want to get bogged down in talking about cake, because this is geography. Right, now, one of the key questions was, where on earth could you visit a rainforest? Now, we've talked about them being tropical, okay? And you will find them, you can see here is a globe, which is, obviously we live on a planet that's spherical, it's a ball, but maps take our globe and they flatten it out. Here is a westernized map, because Europe, you can see, is right in the middle of the map there, and you can see the equator line, and where the equator is where we find tropical rainforests. So you can see here, there is a tropical rainforest in South America, where you'd find the Amazon River Basin. Here is another. Here's a fact for you, though. The Amazon rainforest, if it was a country, would be the 9th biggest country in terms of area in the whole world. So it's a huge space of land. In Africa, you find the Congo River Basin, where there is a rainforest. And here in places like Indonesia, in the North Pacific Ocean, you find an Indian Ocean, you would find the other rainforests there. So tropical places. What are the conditions needed for a rainforest to exist? You need a high degree of warmth, and you need high rainfall. So the rainforest has on average a lot more rain than we do even in Earthlingborough, which often we have a lot of rain, but the rainforest has a high degree of warmth and high rainfall. Now, the other thing we wanted to learn about today, let's go back, is what are the parts of the rainforest called? This is found this lovely diagram on the internet, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
Now we have to research like you do to find out this information. So you can see there are 4 layers of the rainforest, and each layer has its own specific characteristics. You can see at the top there, indicated by the high degree of sunshine and light it gets, is the emergent layer. And these are the trees that emerge from the rest of the forest below it. So these are the highest, the very highest trees, protruding. Can't say that very well. Emerging, that's why it's the emergent layer. That's why it's not called the protruding layer, because it's too difficult to say. It's the emergent layer, the highest trees in the forest. Now, as you can imagine, there's not going to be a lot of life living in the highest point, apart from things that can fly, like birds and insects. Underneath that, you've got the canopy, the upper canopy, teeming with life is part of the rainforest, isn't it, George?
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
More birds.
More birds.
Reptiles.
Yes, reptiles, probably like snakes and lizards. What else?
Sloths.
Sloth. So mammals, you'd find mammals at that. Monkeys, apes, you would find at that layer in the upper canopy. Arachnids, you'd find as well, wouldn't you? Spiders, probably really big spiders that I wouldn't like. Then underneath the upper canopy, you've got the lower canopy, which is a darker environment, obviously, because it's underneath all this vegetation, all these leaves and branches of the canopy. So it's a darker space down here. That's why I put it in kind of brown to represent the trunks and the darkness of it. So it's cooler and darker before you hit the forest floor. Now, the forest floor is where you get the big animals living. So mammals, for example, like
jaguars.
Yeah, that's our go-to exciting mammal on the bottom forest floor. They're the jaguar, which is probably top of the food chain. Various deer, big snakes like boa constrictors, giant snakes, more arachnids and insects. And you keep reminding me, you would also have humans. So there would be tribes living in the Amazon to complement and to live with the animals, who understand the environment. So they're not responsible for the deforestation. It's people that don't understand the environment that are responsible for that. So the humans would be part of the ecosystem of the rainforest. So it's a short introduction to it. We looked at these 3 questions. What is a rainforest? Where can you find rainforests? And what are the parts of a rainforest called? Now, how can you show us what you've learned today? You could, couldn't you, Georgia? You could draw the sections of a rainforest. I remember Georgia doing this at one point, didn't you? You made a little diorama-like model of it in a shoebox. You could draw the sections of a rainforest and you can label them. Number 2, you could list the parts of the world where you would find a rainforest. Or 3, this is kind of like the big challenge, you could put all the information that we've just talked about briefly in this video into a short little written report under the headings: number 1, what is a rainforest? 2, where can you find rainforests? And 3, what are the different layers of a rainforest called? And what organisms, what living things would you find there? And of course, if you're writing your report, the challenge is, can you use some of this scientific technical vocabulary that we talked about earlier in the video? Good luck. If you do any of those 3 things, you can email them to me and I'll read them out and I'll share them in the next lesson on rainforests. It's been great working with you. Say goodbye, George.
Bye.
And good luck with your rainforest learning.